This time last year, I still had no idea what I was going to do until I went back to grad school. I decided my senior year that I wanted to take a gap year to get some more experience in the field I was going into before pursuing yet another expensive, time-consuming degree. I'd applied for a few jobs here and there with nothing that I was extremely passionate about. Then a school psychologist who works with my mom suggested I look into AmeriCorps. I was a little skeptical, thinking how good could it be if I'd never heard of it, so I asked around and got some information and kind of put it on the back burner, half-heartedly applying for a few positions. All in May and June, you could hear crickets in my search for a job. Then comes the end of July, after weeks of hearing nothing, and I got a couple of interviews for AmeriCorps positions, particularly one with Project Change. Judy Lapping had sent me an email asking if I would like to apply to work in children's bereavement hospice caring, and to be honest, I wasn't so sure. First of all, the word hospice is scarier than any horror movie I've ever watched, and I'm sure you would agree. Many people wouldn't touch anything with the word hospice in it with a 10-foot pole, as I've seen proven many a times when tabling fairs with hospice caring. Second of all, I've had loss in my life. I've lost my childhood coach and a family friend in 2008, as well as my grandpa in 2009 and a friend in 2011, among others. I know grief is not something to be taken lightly, and I can be a particularly emotional person. You can just ask my mom. After some thought, I decided I might as well go and check out the interview. After all, time was running out for me to find a job before my loan repayment kicked in at the end of the summer. Upon walking into Hospice Caring Cottage, I immediately felt right at home and did well enough in my interview to be offered the position, despite my lack of interview skills. After some training, I was assigned to facilitate my very first Good Grief Club, a 7-week support group that takes place in schools with grieving children, run by a facilitator and the school counselor. I spent 2.5 hours the night before planning a 35-minute session. Then I showed up 30 minutes early and sat in my car practically hyperventilating. I was so nervous. Although I was prepared with a plan and enough activities and handouts to last a 2-hour session, I was still beyond anxious. I was petrified that I would say the wrong thing or somehow mess these kids up. After all, grieving children are among some of the most fragile. Once the session started, I shortly realized that what all my coworkers and volunteers at Hospice Caring said was true. All you have to do is give the kids the opportunity to grieve and let them speak about their loved ones. The phrase "everyone grieves differently" could come off kind of cliche, but has proven time and time again, and it is probably the most important piece of information I've learned. People in grief are like fingerprints. No two are the same, and they take unexpected turns. It's an honor for someone to allow you into their grief journey. The kids I work with are all extremely courageous and special students. I learn something from each and every one I work with. Now that I've come to the close of the school year, I have run 3 Good Grief Clubs, 2 in elementary schools and 1 in middle school. I still feel a tiny bit nervous before each session, although nowhere near as much as that first one. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't trade my job for anything. I guess the moral of the story is it's okay not to have it all together. The universe has a funny way of dropping you into things you can handle. Maybe it's something a bit or a lot outside your comfort zone, but it's always worth giving it a try, and in my case, this something ended up being a great fit. So great that I elected to stay another year. Without taking the chance, I would have never learned so much, not only about others in life, but about myself.